Welcome back to Geeks Are Sexy. If you're looking for Michelle Davis, you're going to have to come back another time because I'm taking over today. I'm Jason LeDuc from Evil Genius Leadership Consultants, and right now we're talking with Katie Wechter. She runs a social media and content marketing business, and she's another Las Vegas native, just like our first guest, Claudia, was. She's been writing since the age of 12 and has 15 years of experience doing creative writing, social media marketing, and content marketing. And Katie's passion really is, in business, is really to help other businesses in the health and wellness field. And we'll talk a little bit about how she got into that a little later on. But that's her passion in life, is to make mental health information more accessible to people like you and me who aren't professionals at mental health, or maybe aren't people who've gone through mental health, and we're trying to make it more accessible to us. So Katie is a published poet and a published writer in local and national magazines. She's educated in holistic internet marketing theory, which I can't wait to learn more about what that is, and specializes in organic growth through engaging content and interactions with the ideal audience. So if you're looking for someone to do social media marketing for you, Katie's your girl. Holler at your girl. And Katie, tell us about your company and how you got started in it, because I know that's an interesting story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me first off. But I got started with this business really originally looking for a job, wanting to be a writer, and then landed into a business that was doing internet marketing. And through the experiences of that business, and then my prior experiences with social media marketing and with creative content, decided to ultimately jump into business for myself. And it wound up working out really, really well. And really have just been hustling this last year to grow that business. So it's been a fun year for me.
I know you've had an amazing year. You've pulled in a bunch of revenue. You've done really great for a first year business. And you've been a solopreneur for most of that time, but now you're starting to bring in a little bit of additional help in your business. And why don't you tell me a little bit about why you decided to bring in some additional help and how you went about doing that, and how you've had to adapt a little bit as a business owner,
right?
Bringing in some actual employees to your business.
Right. Yeah. So bringing in some help was actually quite a process for me, because I started out, as a solopreneur, as you say, but there were parts of my job that I didn't enjoy doing, as we all have, and they were parts that really didn't require my talent or my mindset. Mostly things around scheduling out and things around the little kind of regular posting.
Yeah. And I want to jump in a minute for our audience. If you're a business owner out there, or you're thinking about starting a business, and there are aspects of your business that you don't like doing, that's okay. We all have businesses, and we all have aspects of our business we don't like doing, and really it's okay to say, I don't like doing this, I'm not great at it, I'm going to bring somebody in who can do a better job, and I can focus on the big picture important things for my business.
Absolutely. And so, I was at a point in which I was overwhelmed with the amount of work that I had, and I knew that I had to get this particular workload off of my plate, because I didn't enjoy it, and it was very stressful. It was high stress to get all that stuff out. And so I went through a process of originally trying to get a virtual assistant, went through a couple companies doing that. It didn't work out so well. Finally landed on the knowledge that I really needed somebody who was local. So I went through quite a process discovering who I need to do this type of work that I need to get done, before I did finally find somebody who is able to be there in a local atmosphere and to take on this work for me.
That's a great point, is that you had to go through a process to figure out. And tell us about some of the stuff you thought about. You started with this idea of a virtual assistant. What did you learn about virtual assistants and the work you were asking them to do that led you to that decision of, I tried, but this just isn't working?
Right. So there were a few factors at play there. The first factor was a lot of the virtual assistants were not local. And so there were challenges with scheduling out, with time conflicts with that. But really, the big issue when it came to the virtual assistants was I was probably asking them to do a little bit more than maybe what their knowledge level was. So even though I broke down everything and I had the calendar and I was able to explain it to them, I still wasn't able to train them in the process. And through that lack of training, they really didn't understand what I needed, and it just wasn't a good relationship every time I attempted a virtual assistant.
Yeah, and not to make this a master class in virtual assistants, but one of the things about virtual assistants, they do a lot of great work, but it's got to be very simple, repetitive tasks. And what you were asked them to do was a little bit more on the research side and the creative side.
Yeah, a little bit more complex. It wasn't simply just post at this time. It was a little bit more of looking at what you're posting, looking at some of the research to help me with getting with that creativity flowing. So they just really weren't effective at that job that I was asking them. Of course, there were other jobs that were lower that I was able to get some work out of them, but ultimately not what I needed, and so I had to move on.
Right job for the right person. You'll hear us talk a lot about that on this show coming in the future, is right job for the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do create your team, growing your team into being the right person for the right job you want for them later on. But let's shift gears a little bit, because I really want to get into this health and wellness aspect. When people talk about social media marketing, there's a lot of different niches out there, but not a lot of people are focused on this health and wellness niche.
Right.
And what makes you interested in this niche, and what makes you uniquely qualified to help out health and wellness businesses, especially here in Las Vegas?
Right. So I'm glad that you asked me that. I've been interested in health and wellness, particularly mental health, for a long time, since childhood. I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, and I'm about to get a master's degree here in information science with a focus in health informatics. And so my talent and my ability to write health and wellness information and content, both for consumers and for the research side, is very much so there, because I've been doing it for well over 9 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a passion of mine. It's something that comes through every single day. And so when I go out into the world, I want to make sure that the companies I'm helping are companies that are trying to help others.
That's great. Again, Claudia and I were talking about corporate social responsibility, and that's great. But also what we're talking about business and success and making money.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where do you want to take your business, and what's the strategy you're gonna take to get it there, to make a successful business that's also corporate socially responsible?
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you asked that with the corporate, with the social responsibility, because I think that's really essential. Every day I wake up and I want to grow my business bigger and bigger, and I have more and more ideas. But ultimately, I want to take this business to a place in which I'm, that number one marketing company for mental health organizations and for organizations in the health and wellness field that are really focusing on making a difference and on providing quality information to people who need it. And so it's all about choosing who you work with and choosing those companies, when it comes to nonprofits, choosing the kind of work that I really want to take on. And I want, in the next 5 to 10 years to really grow that business and to be known in this field for that.
Outstanding. Social media presence when you own a business is so important, and it's even becoming really important for a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
What's one or two really practical things, pieces of advice you'd give to someone who's maybe just starting a business, or even someone who's had a business for a while and is just starting their social media presence?
Right.
And what's a piece of advice you might give to someone who's really wants to make sure they've got a good personal brand as they go out into the world, even if they don't have a business?
Right. So when it comes to social media, when you just get started with social media, you got to keep in mind that you don't need to be on all the platforms. That is the biggest mistake that you can make. What you want to do when you first get started is join one or two of the most popular platforms for your audience, and then push those platforms, which leads me to my next piece of advice. To push those platforms, you need to be posting consistently. Mm-hmm. So make sure that you don't need to be on Snapchat if you're an insurance agent, but make sure that you are posting consistently on whatever platform you wind up choosing.
So let's talk about insurance agents real quick. Where would you recommend an insurance agent who's just getting started with their social media presence go?
They should be on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay, absolutely. Those are probably your big two if you're just getting started. And I do much more work on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook. I have a presence on both, but I really focus my effort on LinkedIn because most of my clients are professional services. Katie, it's been so great to have you here today. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
Tell the audience where they can find you if they're looking for someone to take on helping them with their social media presence.
All right, definitely. You can find me on Facebook at Katie Rose Wechter or Wechter Social Solutions. You can also find my website, wechtersocialsolutions.com, and you'll see the spelling of all of that come up. But yeah, and look out for me on LinkedIn too. I'm a big presence on LinkedIn. Looking forward to connecting with anybody out there.
All right. Well, as I said, thank you again for coming. Thank you for sharing your expertise on social media. Thank you for being such a positive force for good in the health and wellness community here in Las Vegas, because I know that's a community that's really just starting to bond together. And I think you're becoming a key leader in that community. And I think that's great. But sit there, stay here, because we're going to bring Claudia back in, and we're going to have our panel discussion. We're going to talk about some different opportunities that are coming up in Las Vegas and what these two young ladies think about where you might be able to find some opportunities for your business.
Awesome. Thank you.